Imagine standing at the very top of the mountain. The air is thin, the view is endless, and everything below you seems so far away. You have climbed higher than anyone else, achieved what others only dream of, and you hold a kind of power that few in history ever touch. Yet in that very moment, you feel something that no wealth, no status, no army of admirers can erase: an unbearable silence. This silence is not peaceful. It is heavy, almost suffocating. It is the silence of isolation. Throughout history, the people who grasped the greatest power, emperors, kings, leaders, even modern billionaires, often carried the hidden weight of being profoundly alone. Niccolò Machiavelli, the Italian thinker whose writings changed how we understand politics and power, saw this truth with brutal clarity. He knew that power is never just about strength, wealth, or strategy. Power is about people, and people are fickle, jealous, fearful, and self-interested. To rule them, you must distance yourself from them. To control them, you must sacrifice closeness. And to rise above them, you must often walk alone. This video is about that paradox, the strange, painful truth that the higher one climbs in power, the lonelier the path becomes. We will break down Machiavelli's insights into 7 parts, each one revealing why power, instead of surrounding you with love and loyalty, slowly strips them away. By the end, you'll understand not only why the most powerful are always alone, but also why Machiavelli believed this loneliness was the unavoidable cost of true dominance. So let us begin with the first 2 truths. Part 1. Power demands fear, not friendship. Machiavelli's most famous words still echo across centuries. It is better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both. On the surface, this sounds cruel, almost heartless. But Machiavelli wasn't writing fairy tales. He was describing how humans actually behave when power is at stake. To maintain authority, a ruler or anyone seeking influence must understand the difference between affection and fear. Love is beautiful but fragile. It depends on emotions, on loyalty, on a bond that can be broken the moment conditions change. People may love you today but betray you tomorrow if their own interests demand it. Fear, on the other hand, is consistent. Fear chains people to obedience because it is rooted not in fleeting emotions, but in survival. But here is the hidden cost. The more you cultivate fear, the more you weaken friendship. The ruler who is feared cannot truly be loved. For love requires closeness, vulnerability, and trust. When people tremble in your presence, when they weigh every word before speaking to you, when they see you as untouchable, the possibility of genuine friendship vanishes. Machiavelli knew this paradox well. A leader who relies on fear will never be surrounded by real friends, only by flatterers, opportunists, and people who pretend loyalty because they dread the consequences of disobedience. And so even while commanding armies and nations, such a leader is left alone in a chamber of false smiles. This is the first reason why power breeds loneliness. Fear secures control, but it burns the bridges of true companionship. You may be respected, obeyed, even worshipped, but rarely loved. Part 2. Trust shrinks as power grows. Think of trust as a fragile thread connecting 2 people. Between equals, this thread is strong, because both share similar risks, similar vulnerabilities. But as soon as one person rises higher, gaining more wealth, more influence, more authority, the thread begins to stretch, and eventually it begins to snap. Machiavelli observed that the higher one climbs in power, the fewer people can truly be trusted. Why? Because ambition is everywhere. When you hold power, every person around you, whether a friend, advisor, or family member, may secretly want what you have. Envy corrodes trust. Ambition poisons loyalty. Even those who once supported you may start calculating their own advantage. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers never to be naive about trust. A prince who trusts too easily invites betrayal. A leader who assumes loyalty is permanent will eventually be surprised by treachery. To protect themselves, the powerful must learn to question everyone's motives. They must see not just what people say, but what they truly desire. But here lies the second cost of power, the constant suspicion that surrounds it. Imagine living in a world where every smile could hide a knife, where every ally might secretly be waiting for you to stumble. Such a life demands vigilance, but it also destroys intimacy. For how can you open your heart to others when you suspect their loyalty is temporary, their kindness calculated, their closeness an illusion? This suspicion grows stronger with every step up the ladder of power. The higher you rise, the more isolated you become, until trust itself feels like a dangerous luxury. And so the powerful ruler becomes a solitary figure, admired from afar, feared by many, but unable to share true closeness with anyone. This was Machiavelli's second lesson. As power expands, trust contracts. And without trust, loneliness becomes inevitable. Part 3. The burden of responsibility separates the powerful. To hold power is not just to command others. It is to carry the weight of consequences that few can imagine. A common man may fail and only his own life suffers. But when a ruler fails, entire nations collapse. Economies crumble, wars ignite, and thousands may perish. This crushing responsibility creates a wall between the powerful and everyone else. Machiavelli understood this when he described the prince as someone who must always think, not of what is easy, but of what is necessary. Ordinary people can afford to dream, to act impulsively, to follow emotions. But for the ruler, every choice carries enormous cost. The powerful are forced to think ahead, to calculate, to anticipate betrayals and disasters before they happen. This mental burden slowly pulls them out of the ordinary human circle. How could they ever truly relax when their decisions shape the destiny of millions? How could they ever confide in friends when those friends cannot possibly understand the scale of their responsibility? It is like standing on a high bridge that no one else dares to cross. Below, the people laugh, argue, and love freely. Above, the ruler stands alone, every step heavy with the knowledge that a single misstep could destroy everything. This is the third reason why power isolates. Responsibility grows so heavy that it separates the ruler from the ruled. Even in the middle of crowded courts and bustling palaces, the powerful walk alone with burdens too vast for others to share. Part 4. Envy turns allies into enemies. If fear and distrust were not enough, Machiavelli also warned of another poison that follows power everywhere: envy. To achieve greatness is to invite resentment. People admire success, but they also secretly despise it because it reminds them of what they lack. The powerful, by rising above the crowd, expose themselves to the constant arrows of envy. Friends who once celebrated their rise may begin to feel overshadowed. Allies may question why one man or one woman holds so much authority while they are left behind. Even the most loyal companions may turn cold, not because of betrayal in action, but because of bitterness in the heart. Machiavelli believed envy to be inevitable. He advised rulers to be cautious, to never assume that admiration means safety. Praise can turn into resentment the moment fortune changes. This makes the position of the powerful uniquely unstable, surrounded not just by open enemies, but by silent rivals disguised as allies. And what does envy produce? Distance. The ruler, sensing the hidden hostility of others, retreats further into isolation. They begin to trust fewer people, speak less openly, and rely more on strategy than sincerity. Envy builds invisible walls around the powerful. Walls made not of stone, but of cold stares and unspoken jealousy. This is the fourth reason why the most powerful are always alone. The higher they rise, the more they attract envy, and envy turns companions into silent enemies. Part 5. Love becomes transactional. Perhaps the most tragic truth of power is what it does to love itself. For the ordinary person, love can be genuine, tender, free from calculation. But for the powerful, love is almost never pure. Machiavelli warned rulers never to confuse affection with loyalty. When wealth, influence, and authority surround a person, even love becomes a mask. Those who approach the powerful often do so not for who they truly are, but for what they can offer: status, protection, favor, or opportunity. A smile may hide ambition. A marriage may be a political bargain. Even gestures of devotion may conceal a thirst for advancement. This is why rulers, throughout history, have often doubted even the affection of their closest partners. Can they truly be loved for themselves when everything around them is shaped by their position? Or is love simply another tool others use to climb higher? The tragedy is that the powerful, even when surrounded by admirers and lovers, may never know if that love is real. Every word of affection feels tainted by suspicion. Every embrace feels like a negotiation. And so, what should bring comfort instead becomes another form of isolation. This is Machiavelli's fifth lesson. Power corrupts the purity of love, turning it into a transaction. The more influence one has, the harder it becomes to know whether affection is genuine or bought by power. And without true love, the powerful stand alone, surrounded by people yet untouched by intimacy. Part 6. Betrayal is the shadow of power. Every throne casts a long shadow, and in that shadow hides betrayal. For Machiavelli, betrayal was not a rare accident in politics, it was an inevitability. The powerful live in a world where loyalty is fragile, shifting with fortune, fear, or ambition. History confirms this. Kings were betrayed by their closest advisors. Generals were assassinated by their own soldiers. Even emperors, surrounded by walls, guards, and lavish courts, often fell to conspiracies born within their inner circles. Machiavelli insisted that this was not because rulers were foolish, but because human nature is fickle. People obey while it benefits them, but when power shifts, loyalty evaporates like mist in the morning sun. The ruler then must live with the permanent awareness that betrayal can come from anywhere: an advisor, a family member, even a supposed friend. This awareness breeds constant caution, but it also deepens loneliness. Imagine living in a palace of gold where every smile might hide treachery, where every oath of loyalty might already be broken in secret. This is the sixth reason why the powerful are isolated. Betrayal is not an exception, but a certainty. Surrounded by potential traitors, the ruler must guard themselves endlessly, and in that vigilance they lose the possibility of closeness. Part 7. The throne has no equal companions. There is one final truth that Machiavelli understood. The throne is a seat with no equals. The higher you rise, the fewer people stand beside you. In fact, true equals disappear altogether. Among ordinary people, friendships thrive because lives are balanced. But for the powerful, balance vanishes. How can a ruler share laughter, doubt, or weakness with others when no one else carries the same burdens? How can a leader feel companionship when every conversation is tilted by fear, respect, or ambition? Machiavelli saw the ruler as a solitary figure, not because they desired solitude, but because equality itself collapses at the summit of power. The prince may command armies, govern cities, and shape destiny, but he cannot sit among equals. Those beneath him bow, those beside him scheme, those above him do not exist. This is the ultimate isolation of power. At the peak, there are no companions, only subjects, rivals, or shadows. Ending. Machiavelli's dark gift. And so when we ask why the most powerful people are always alone, Machiavelli answers with a clarity that is both chilling and profound. Power demands fear, and fear kills friendship. Trust shrinks as ambition grows. Responsibility separates rulers from the ruled. Envy turns allies into rivals. Love becomes transactional. Betrayal lurks in every corner. And at the very top, equality itself disappears. This is the paradox of power. To gain the world is to lose the warmth of companionship. To command many is to walk alone. Machiavelli did not write these truths to discourage us, but to prepare us. He wanted rulers, thinkers, and even ordinary readers to see human nature without illusion. His words remain timeless because the pattern has never changed. Whether in Renaissance courts, corporate boardrooms, or modern politics, the powerful carry the same loneliness. And yet within this darkness lies Machiavelli's gift, knowledge. For if you understand that power isolates, you will not be blinded by its glitter. You will see the cost behind the crown, the silence behind the applause, the solitude behind the throne. So as you reflect on Machiavelli's lesson, ask yourself, is the price of ultimate power worth paying? Or is true strength found not in ruling others, but in preserving the rare bonds of trust, love, and companionship that power so easily destroys? That is the question. Machiavelli leaves for us a question that echoes across centuries, reminding us that the higher we climb, the lonelier the summit becomes.